Hey guys, what up? Total Control 871. Coming in with a little bit of a night blog. It's a little difficult to not take notice of well, I guess the number one topic in the news, and that is our border patrol separated family, twisted anguish, blah blah blah, whatever. So that's all anybody can really seem to talk about. It's all over the news. It seems to have superseded everything else. So I figure I just simply fire off some my own observation, my own life experiences in relation to the matter. Like I say, I don't really deal in a whole lot of conspiracy theory. I like to keep things as factual as I can. Number one, we have CNN and a bunch of other liberal media crying, end the policy, end the policy. No, this is not a policy. It is a law. I guess it's a policy as to how. Well, no, it's a law because I mean I suppose there aren't necessarily degrees of law. I mean, well, I know there are degrees of murder and things like that, but what I'm getting at is that they wouldn't be able to separate the children if it were not legally possible to do so. Otherwise, the liberal media would be screaming that the right is breaking the law. I'm sorry, I'm like trying to get the camera oriented here a little bit. Or they'd be screaming that they're breaking the law and kidnapping children. That is what ICE would be faced with, that they would be child abduction charges they'd be brought up on. So there's obviously a law that empowers them to remove people's children from their custody when they meet particular criteria. I just got finished watching Chris Como and Kellyanne Conway sparring over the matter. I'll see if I can link that down below for a very particular reason, but I'll get to that a little bit later on. But yeah, Conway, she makes it clear as to some of these criteria as to why children are separated away. Now, granted, yes, it's a law. See, this is what I like to do. I don't want to make myself sound like I'm all-seeing oracle or some shit like that. But I do like to pride myself and excel on the ability to filter out media's bullshit. Right-wing media, left-wing media. Part of that spin and bullshit is that it's a policy. No, it's not a policy. It's just simply it's a law. Now, to use a comparative analogy that I feel like I know quite a bit about, like I said number of videos ago, don't ask how or why or where, but somewhere along the line, the cycling community and the law enforcement community struck this weird-ass unspoken, unwritten understanding that as long as cyclists do not invoke their rights to the road, then police will, for the most part, leave them the hell alone. The only time cops would really, mess with them is if they're looking to do a drug shakedown, bust their balls. You don't have a headlight, don't have a tail light, therefore we're gonna run your pockets real quick. So obviously it isn't really the cycling infraction. They're just simply using that to do a drug shakedown. Or if hooligan preteens are running amok in a parking lot or whatnot, they might use helmet laws to bust their stones. So anyway, nevertheless, even though it might be this unspoken, what have you, agreement, just like how it's a unspoken You know, we won't separate the children, even though the law says we can. You know, we won't do that. And that's what we've been hearing. The Bush administration, I don't know if this goes back to the Clinton administration. It very well might be. So be it Republican or Democrat, you know, it's been going on. Also, to keep clarity and context, these detention centers, they were operational during Obama's and Bush and Clinton. You know, they were there. I understand now that bigoted ass Trump is in office, and well, Jesus Christ, the fucking safety is off of ICE, and you know, it's just simply, you know, fire. Basically, ICE has orders to fire at will. That's my point, and that's what they've been doing. And so I don't know. Maybe it's an ugly. Yeah, I think. Don't quote me on the exactness, but I think the Democrats allowed this little law to get crafted in the wake of 9/11, because I think it got crafted somewhere in like 2004, 2005, so not too long after. You know, wounds were still fresh. I mean, hell, frankly, 9/11 wounds are still fucking bleeding, you know? I mean, America, they're in the fucking wound care center where the fucking ulcer won't heal and shit. The ulcer on your arms and legs won't heal. You know, that's America's 9/11 wounds. Anyway, so yeah, as the wounds were kind of fresh, Democrats allowed that to go through. Like I say, Democrats, they are not the tacticians that Republicans are. And that's a whole nother video, because I said I wanted to do Transformers and politicians, and that's definitely going to be a whole nother video. Republicans are Decepticons, Democrats are Autobots. Not necessarily for, you know, good and evil. Without getting too far off into that episode that I'll do at a different time, the point that I'm making is that if you know enough of the Transformer mythos, then you understand that Decepticons and Autobots were very much indeed like our elephant and mule, both beasts of burden. Then you get into Quintessons. You know, the Asians are really incredible people. Their take, their concept, their understanding of America, its politics, that's a whole thing in and of itself. The Quintessons, they represent the politicians. You know, and I understand we have politicians that are Republican and Democrat, but that's kind of what they were talking about with the whole Quintesson, five-face. That's all Quintessons were. They were five-face liars. Neither Decepticon or Autobot ever truly knew where they stood when they were dealing with a Quintesson. And basically what I'm trying to say here is that Decepticon and Autobot, they're both meant to represent blue-collar conservative and liberals, basically. And both conservative and liberals... Okay, I'm getting too far off. We'll talk that another time. So yes, immigration. It is a law, and there was an unspoken understanding, and Trump has, I guess, exercised his fucked up powers, and he says that, well, now we're going to be, separate these people as a divisive tool. I know Conway was also harping and bitching about child sex trafficking and a bunch of other stuff. You're reaching for straws. I'm not saying that it doesn't happen. Conway is just simply looking to justify it. She's looking to put as much perfume on this turd, you know. and it's not working. What Trump has been doing, not only with the immigration, with North Korea, with Canada, with the immigration in regards to a desperate attempt to strong-arm Democrats to the table to fund that ridiculous ass wall. What all of this has in common is that Trump is absolutely desperate to leave a lasting mark on his legacy, his presidential legacy. Trump, I think he knows that his presidency is going to get dashed away into the annals of time. He's going to go down as probably the biggest fucking laughing joke. It's just one catastrophe after another. It's a joke. And he's trying very hard to stymie this, to mitigate this. He wants as many monuments to his success as he can possibly muster. The Canadian tariffs. He's just simply desperate to woo your American steel workers. All those American blue-collar jobs. He's trying desperately to woo a lot of unions. And these people they're just not very smart. I mean, I really don't like I'm trying, because I don't consider myself a master tactician. It's just so glaring. It's so obvious that this person, that Trump, all he's doing is just simply desperately trying to get you to buy into his xenophobia to elect him again. That's it. You know, one of my favorite episodes of Justice League, I don't think it was Justice League Unlimited just yet, so I think it was just the original. So our Justice League, you know, Superman, Martian Manhunter, they're off on a world and whatnot. And I saw what the what the animators and the story creators are doing. They were kind of recreating a lot of Christians and Lions type thing. What a lot of emperors did. They gave a lot of carnage to the poor. They allowed the poor to come and to watch the gladiators, to watch either fight each other, fight animals. And it's so weird and bizarre how it does just that. It titillates you. It ensnares your senses. It is indeed the distraction from your poverty, from your misery. You know, it was something. It was, you know, it was an awesome Super Bowl of its time, you know. And that's all Trump is doing, you know, being very much indeed the entertainer that he is. He's not a president. I kind of hesitate to use the word entertainer because he doesn't entertain me. I mean, again, I don't want to make it sound like I'm some great all-seeing whatever, but I see the dude as what he is. He's a fucking charlatan. He's a bigot. He's, you know, he just simply changes his stance on whatever it is going to benefit him. Like I say, he wants the border wall. He wants something physical. He would love the Nobel Peace Prize for the whole North Korea thing. He does not give a shit if he compromises America, South Korea, China. He doesn't care if he destabilizes all these countries. He does not give a fuck, as long as he has that talisman, as long as he has that holy grail of a medal, of a monument. He wants the wall. He wants the medal. He wants his second term. Yeah, that's what he's doing. And what I find so strange is that his first 2 years, you see these jobs hemorrhage away. So you see him Knife Canada in the back. Okay. With that ridiculousness of security threat, you see him as he tries desperately to reignite blue-collar steel, those jobs. He's trying all this stuff to reignite it and to give a lot of false hope. Now, I suppose if I'm being fair here, I suppose Obama did his own tricks for his second term. Obama deregulated a lot of financing in 2000 and 12. Coming to the end of his first term, a lot of college kids were coming out, and there was no jobs. The jobs were not there. And what he did, he deregulated a lot of shit, and he made it very easy to get more loans. So go back in for another 4 years, literally. Obama kept his base. He kept his base busy in school. And that would last him his 2 terms. And this is what Trump is doing. He's looking for something to preoccupy his basket of deplorables. Hey, don't you guys hate Mexicans and South Americans? Well, all right, I'm gonna give you something to hate. God damn it, So, it definitely is the and you guys are just simply lapping it up, and it's nothing you can take to the bank, Just like how I expose the ridiculousness of therapists and suicide hotlines in regards to my situation. There is nothing that you can do to fix this. Nothing you can take to the bank. I get a lot of armchair quarterbacking in the comment section. There is nothing that I can take to the bank. Nothing. So, that's just what Trump is doing. I want my border wall, so, and he's desperate, The midterm elections are coming. All right, the second topic that Cuomo and Conway they weren't really sparring on this. Cuomo just basically gave her the floor to let her rant and whatnot. But I couldn't help but wonder, because addiction, they're calling addiction, it's a disease, and I don't believe addiction is a disease. And of course, this all has to do with who it's affecting. Just like with our immigration, it's not affecting white people. And then again, frankly, I don't even think these I really don't know if these white people understand, what they're doing. How the flow of illegal aliens, and I don't have a problem calling them illegal aliens. That's another spin that I filter out of the bullshit media. But the flow of illegal aliens into the U.S. I think an ant. Ant was crawling on me. Some of the ants, the real small ones, they can kind of get through every now and then. Anyway, shit, what was I saying? The ant distracted me. But we're talking about who it affects, yes, that's how I know. I was working up to my next analogy. Illegal aliens flowing into the U.S., it's like a kidney. It's like kidney failure. Did you know that you can feel perfectly fine with kidney failure all the way up to about 90%? It's kind of why they say high blood pressure is the silent killer, because high blood pressure destroys your kidneys quite silently. I had a cousin. She did a lot of drugs, and she was hospitalized a number of times for high blood pressure. Her father passed away from a stroke, so she's got all these, a precursor for all this shit. Yes, I know she shouldn't have been doing drugs, but I'll get to that in a minute too. You'll be feeling fine. So if you have like 40%, if your kidneys are down 40%, you're gonna feel fine. 50%, you feel fine. 70%, you're gonna feel fine. But it's usually around the 90% when your shit's about to just fucking die. That's when you begin to feel the effects of kidney failure. And of course, by the time people make their way into their doctor, it's too late. It's too late. And I can't help but use that as an apt analogy. Is that what America, these conservative Americans, are doing to themselves as they constrict the flow of illegal aliens? We already have a movie about it, Day in the Life Without a Mexican. It's not a terribly, breaking news concept. These people are fully integrated into, and Trump knows this. America knows this. So many people know this already, yet they keep staging this theater. The ICE has orders to fire at will. Go for it. Why? Because it titillates Trump's base, and they like it. And why do they like it? They like it because their own fucking life is misery. And that's what misery does. Misery loves company. So if I'm fucking miserable, I want the fucking, what? I guess they'd call them a slur. I want the wetbacks. I want the what is it? Just basically fucking everybody. We're seeing anti-everything, man. If you're not paying attention, then you're not paying attention. It's not just simply a spike in anti-xenophobia. Yes, there's definitely a spike in anti-Semitic. That's a whole different thing. The Jews have definitely done some damage to themselves and to everybody else, and that's a whole separate video. Oh my God. And yeah, LGBT, we saw, we took one on the chin there with the Supreme Court ruling with the bake shop, and so the hangman is still out there hanging. He's still out there finding demographics and people to find fault with and to persecute and prosecute. And your life is miserable, and you just are desperate for something to feel good about. And Trump doesn't care. Like the cult leader that he is, he's going to feed you what you feed on, the misery and despair. All right, the drug thing, drugs are not a disease. If you really, and I get it, actually it was supposed to be used as a metaphor, but the CDC a number of years ago, one of the things during the last couple of years of Obama's second term, the CDC reclassified addiction as an actual disease, and it's not a disease. If so, then tell me something. Is poverty a disease? People choose to do drugs, and I think that's where I was going a little while ago. I remember the first time somebody handed me cocaine. I told them no thank you. Why did I say no thank you? Because I saw your fucking drug house. I saw your drug babies, as that whole pathetic scenario. What was it, like Bebe Kids? Who remembers that? Old, so I see what it is. And I don't need to be a master tactician. If I take this I'll end up like that. This leads to that. This, that. This, that. Fuck you, drugs. No. No, thank you. I'm good. You know? So, I made my choice. But I didn't choose to be poor. You know? So, while I don't actually believe poverty is a disease any more than addiction is, but I suppose if you really want to go down a checklist, poverty is closer. Poverty fits the definition of a disease a lot closer than addiction. Addiction, you have a choice. You've always had the choice. You simply choose not to. I don't have a choice about poverty. I don't really have too much of a choice about living in this tent. It's either this tent where I have some semblance of a life to be able to do something, or I can surrender my entire disability check over to a landlord where I will then be completely locked in a box with no hope of ever getting out. So, there you go. You know, poverty fits the description of disease a lot sooner than addiction. Also, I'm going to end with this. Everybody has been crying about the detention centers. Oh my God, everybody's out there making the comparison of the Japanese internment camps, and I've been saying this for months. Okay? About homeless and shelters. I'm lost. Where was all this compassion about the dreaded shelters? Okay? Because, now, all true. I've not been to any of the illegal alien detention centers. I think there's one here in Elizabeth, New Jersey. It did cross my mind to maybe take a trip up there to maybe check things out. But, yeah, I just from the little bit that I've seen, the detention centers look far more sanitary and far more safe than a homeless shelter. I challenged the liberal media. I'll end with this challenge. Have anybody been raped in the detention centers? Have they had their belongings stolen from them? Okay. Have they been physically assaulted? Are there murders in the detention center? Are communicable diseases transferred from one person to the others? Scabies, HIV, hepatitis. Is any of this happening in the detention centers? Okay? Because if your answer is no, while I still understand that it's not a pleasant experience, and I agree, I think that these illegal aliens should be allowed in. I'm at least intelligent enough to know who's my enemy and who is not. Okay, I don't need to be entertained, you know, like one of Trump's deplorables. Okay, I don't need to be entertained. So just like I say to the fucking caseworker, I need something I can take to the bank. Okay, and being titillated by seeing a bunch of people who are desperate to make a life for themselves being denied access, being denied a chance at that life, that's nothing I can take to the bank. That doesn't make my life any better. So, nevertheless, those detention centers look a lot better than the shelters. I don't want to be in either one. Let's make that clear. But I'm sorry, I just don't see major media making a stink about homeless shelters and comparing them to internment camps. Who was it? Retired General Michael Hayden. He compared it to Auschwitz. Auschwitz. I see. But nobody cares that homeless shelters are dreaded. If anything, you're out there ready to pick up the phone, call the cops. Oh, I just want to help. There's this homeless guy. You should come get him. Take him away someplace where his kind belong. Well, you know what? ICE is hauling all the illegal aliens the fuck back to where they belong. Total Control, 871.